All right, our next speakers are another couple who very special to me. Some of the first people I called. They ran a very successful brokerage up in Sacramento, California. Had 2 offices, 30 miles apart, and about 110 agents work for them. And they had shut that down, and they were in transition. Some of you know the story. I invited Marguerite out for Taco Tuesday just to talk. We spent an hour talking about her and Joe. And she's like, well, what about EXP? I'm like, there's time for that later. Tell me about you, your goals, your dreams. We spent an hour, and she's like, tell me about EXP. At the end, I'm like, we have no time for that. But come to my office tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I want you to watch a short webinar and give me your opinion. She said, okay. She brought Joe, and about 30 minutes in, she started crying in my office. I mean, she's literally, I'm giving her Kleenex, and she looks at Joe, she's like, we're doing this. And they are just tearing it up. I'm so excited about what's going on in their lives. And they're the most amazing couple. I love and respect them greatly. They have business all across the United States today. Help me welcome Marguerite and Joe Crespillo. Woo!
Well, wow, that's going to be a tough one to follow, Sheila. We love you so much, and it's a huge honor. Joe always says I never let him talk, so I'm going to let him talk.
Thank you, hon. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my background and give it back to her because she's the person that's the driver, my rock, for the last 32 years. And as she says, I'm just the eye candy of the group, so sucks being eye candy. Well, my name's Joe Crespillo. I started in this business January 10th, 1977. So I've got almost 42 years, and before Brent came to us, as he said, we had a large franchise. We had 120 local agents. And I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2005, so the stress of that many agents being their broker, it was just too much for me. So we decided to shut down the franchise, go back to being a little boutique. We weren't going to go anywhere. We weren't going to do anything else till Brent came along, and we drank the Kool-Aid. It had tequila in it, basically. And we joined up, basically, because I didn't see a way for me to retire. I thought I'd be shaken all the way to my grave in real estate, basically, so I didn't see a way for me to retire. And I think we made the right move, because yesterday on the internet, I saw a quote from President Kennedy back in the early 60s. He said, ask not what revenue share can do for you. Ask why you're still doing profit share. So see, President Kennedy was a very wise man, and he knew about EXP in the 60s, some 40, 50 years before it even came around. So, and I want to give one little real estate tidbit too, because Brent said give a real estate tidbit. And I'm sure that both Scott and Jeff agree with me on this. The best thing I can tell you about real estate happened 27 years ago to me. Marry somebody like Marguerite.
Well, in case you don't know, Joe is also in his now retirement a stand-up comedian. So there you go. And I think he's going to be performing somewhere tonight. I'm not sure, but feel free to come up and ask after we talk. So I just wanted to say what a huge honor it is. I wanted to come up here and take a picture because Brent said it earlier that this room will never be this size. And I go back to the first event we went to in May of 2016, 17, I'm sorry. And we were in Mexico. And there were about 80 of us, I think, maybe 75 or 80 of us for any of you that were there. And I remember we went out on this like a little veranda and we took a picture, and we were all so excited because we're like, the room's never going to be this size again. And now, like, holy cow, wow. And yeah, that was all of Rob Flick's group, and this is and Jean Frederick, right? And then at the shareholders, we all crammed into a suite you had, and there were like 60 of us crammed into the suite trying to take a selfie. But anyway, I wanted to just give a little bit of background. I started in real estate in '93, and we ended up opening our own independent brokerage in January of 1996. Because when you're an agent and you've only been in the business like a year or so, the smartest thing to do ever is open your own brokerage, right? And that's what we thought was a smart thing to do. Well, we would get a few agents, we'd lose a few, like many of you might have experienced. We'd get a few more and we'd lose a few. And we always thought we were making money until you actually start to pull your production out of the equation. And I don't know how many of you have ran independent brokerages, but it's really a fallacy is all that I can tell you. You think that you're making money and you think, oh, well, if I just bring on a couple agents, they'll pay all the bills until the bills start racking up. So in 2006 is when the market shifted, if many of you remember, and I went into the REO arena, as Sheila had mentioned, and jumped into REO, was doing a ton of business, but I can't remember who said it last night, but someone said, I think it was Jacob who said, we're always looking 18 months out if you're a smart agent. What's going to happen next? What's going to be next? What's the next change? What's the next shift? So that you can be prepared for it. So when I got into REO, I personally only thought it was going to last 3 or 4 years. I mean, I don't think anybody projected it to be what it was. So did REO, and I started thinking, okay, well, once REO goes away, what will be the next best thing? Well, again, I'm not the sharpest tool in the tack. I thought, I'll go buy a franchise. Because that's going to make sense, right? So we went out, we spent a boatload of money on a franchise thinking, okay, well, we'll build this company up to enough agents that we can then retire. Now we'll have enough income and we'll retire, because a franchise makes a lot of sense, we thought. So we bought a franchise. We actually ended up opening 3 offices, had 120 agents. And then 2013, we started to see the market shift again. So REO and short sales and all that were starting to go away. And I started thinking, okay, number one, we're going to have to go back into traditional real estate, which is fine, but the majority of these agents won't make it in going back to a traditional market. And so what will be our plan? So I thought, well, now would be a perfect time that we're kind of at this peak, so to speak, in my mind, that we should sell this franchise. So here's another couple fallacies. Number one, when you try to sell a franchise, you must sell it to someone who wants to run that franchise in the same brand that the franchise is. And unfortunately, the franchise that we had was not a very popular one, and no one wanted to run that franchise. The second thing they do is they ask you to take your numbers out of the equation. I was the top producing agent at my company. So when I pulled my numbers out of the equation, the company was actually hemorrhaging. We were losing thousands and thousands of dollars. In other words, I was paying so that all of my agents could have this beautiful place to work. I was paying so that the agents could all have leads and all have business and all have marketing and advertising and have a place to work where they could come in and stand around the coffee machine. So I was paying thousands and thousands of dollars to run these companies. Around that same time, as Joe mentioned, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and the stress of running a brokerage with 120 agents was more than we could handle. So when I pulled all the numbers out, we sat there and we really talked, and we said, you know what, this just isn't worth it anymore. Life is way too short. We've been through a number of crises in our lives, including the death of our son when he was 10 years old. And we knew that it was not worth it. There was not enough money in the world to continue to have a business that was causing so much stress on us. And somebody said it yesterday, I think it was Scott Lewis. I don't know, Scott, are you in here? Or Scott, way back there. Scott said that he was so tired of restarting, rebuilding, redoing it. We had rebuilt and restarted so many times. We had failed many times, and that's what I want you guys to hear. We've failed so many times. Luckily, we've succeeded in a few ways. But we were so exhausted and burned out and frustrated at the end of the day, I could not imagine going out and restarting. We said, forget it. We'll go back to being small and independent. We got out of the franchise. We shut the doors of the 3 offices. We helped 120 agents relocate. We basically said, tell you what, there was about 20 of them that said they wouldn't leave us no matter what, so they came with us to our small independent brokerage. And I just did everything I could to keep our life simple and stress-free. We got recruited by everybody, as you can imagine. We got flown to Austin, Texas. I'm sure you can appreciate that. We got talked to by all the big companies who all said we needed to come join them for the brand. Now, I'm here to tell you guys, brand only matters when you have nothing else. And I knew I didn't need any of those brands. I could figure out a way to make it on my own. I'd done it many times before. When we were in San Diego taking a break, we were at Disneyland, and I got a phone call from Brent Gove. He said, hey, Marguerite. Y'all know his excitement. He's like, hey, I have a ton of respect for you, as you know, and I really want to get your opinion. I want you to rip this thing apart. I'm thinking about leaving KW. I'm like, what? You're going to do what? And I said, Brent, hey, I'm at Disneyland, and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll check in with you when I get back. Because Brent has sold a few things in his day. He's an extraordinary salesman. And I said, I don't know what you're selling, Brent, but we'll talk about it. So I come back from Disneyland, and it's Tuesday. I'll never forget. And he calls me, he says, hey, you have time for lunch today? And I said, oh, I don't know. Where are you? He goes, across the street. He goes, it's Taco Tuesday. Come on over. Let's have tacos. And we did. We went in there and we sat down and we had tacos. And it's a true story when he says he did not talk at all about anything about EXP. And he's yakking away. We're talking about what's going on with our lives. I said, I'm just super burned out, Brent. I could die happy and show another house. Is anyone else in here on that same level? I mean, I love real estate, don't get me wrong. But I could die happy and never show another house. And so he said, look, come watch this webinar tomorrow. I'm like, oh, man, what are you selling? So we went over there 8 a.m. the next morning, for the record, 8 a.m. And Rob Flick and Sheila were live on the webinar. And they did started doing the webinar that all of you guys have seen. And I have to tell you, about 10 or 15 minutes in, I got goose pimples on my arms. And I said, I almost feel like we were born for this. We have spent the last 24 of my years, 40 some odd of his years. This was designed for us. It's almost like they created this specifically for us. And we got tears in our eyes. We left there. We went home. We talked the whole day, the whole night. And we come to the conclusion that whether one agent came with us or not, we were going. It didn't matter. We were going to go. And I'll tell you that since we joined, it's been 21 months, I think now, 21 months ago since we joined. It has truly been the best decision we've ever made, and here's why. We are no longer doing this just for ourselves. It has become so much bigger than us. And it's given us an opportunity to not be 90 years old and still selling real estate. It's given us an opportunity... What did he do? I missed it. It's given us an opportunity to be able to build something bigger than us, to build, as some of the people said yesterday, generational wealth. But to not only do that, but to help support and change the lives of so many people. I'm so blessed that I have about 20 of our group here. Lee said I had to make sure. I mentioned him because he's been a key component for us. I love him. I love all of them. I'm so proud of each and every person that's in our group and that's a part of us, and all of you. But it's given us the opportunity to do so much more than I could do in my little tiny neck of the woods. We can impact, and we can help and support lives, and as someone said earlier, change lives. That's really what we want to do, isn't it? I mean, we love that we sell real estate, which is huge and impactful, but the fact that we can impact the lives of future generations is so far beyond what I ever dreamed of. This dream is so much bigger than I ever dreamed. So much bigger. And I love when Jason right there, who's one of my favorite people on the planet, him and his beautiful mom, Christine, he works in my office. He's been 1 year in real estate and made icon status, people. 1 year. First year in real estate. He'll be mad at me for mentioning him. But he came up and he said, look at that banner right there. How many success stories do you need to hear before you start creating your own? How many? And so as we wrap up a little bit, the last couple things I wanted to say is what was life-changing for us is when I sat down with Brent one day, and as I said, I've never really worked for a big company, so I always kind of forged through on my own. I always thought I had to figure everything out on my own, that I didn't need anybody. I don't know where all that stuff came from, but I had to figure it all out on my own. And Brent said one day, why are you not getting my help? Why are you not reaching out? And I stood back and I said, well, I guess maybe asking for help is a sign of weakness. And we talked about it, and he says, you know, the most successful people on the planet ask for help. They reach out to other successful people, and they bring them in, and they encourage them, and they support them, and they work together. And the best part of this company is the collaboration is ridiculous. The fact that we are all here for the same journey to support each other and help each other, I've never seen anything like it in any other company that exists. So my advice to you is reach out. Reach out to the people around you. Get help. Ask questions. Like, I'll talk about Lee. Lee has called me every single day, multiple times a day for the last 5 months, I think.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, he's on Michigan time. I'm in California time. He forgets that sometimes. And so I encourage you to reach out and get that support from the people that are here. We're willing to help you. You just have to ask. And so, oh, he's going to take it from me. Hold on.
Just real quick. Because if you look at our numbers, we've got 38 personals. We only have 155 in our group. You've seen other people with, I think Chris, the Japanese cowboy, has got 10 people in his group and the same amount of people 10 on personals and the same amount of people in his group. It's because we jumped out and got personals quick. We didn't help them get people. Now we're doing it, and it's really starting to grow now. So if there's anything I can say to you is reach out for help and help your people get people, and it'll grow like everybody else's is growing.
Thank you. So as I wrap up, we were asked to also create a real estate tip, and I'll tell you a couple things that we've done to help support our group. Like Shelley, we have weekly meetings in our office, and we have an office locally in our market. We also take those meetings and we broadcast them live. We have a Facebook group that any of you guys are welcome to join. It's called Real Estate Success Strategies and Accountability. You can come there, bring your agents there. We do trainings every single week. I do them along with Jason. Jason inspired me to get that going, and we do it on a regular basis to be able to bring value as much as we possibly can. We also have Facebook groups and that kind of thing, workplace groups where we encourage our agents. And Zoom is like my best friend. I learned that from Sheila. That's the most amazing thing on the planet. But in order to sell more real estate, I'm going to give you this one last thing, and that is, this is a relationship business. And you have a choice. And I will tell you that if the day came where you were no longer allowed to spend $1 on advertising, what would you do to build your business? And I encourage all of you to really look at your businesses that way. Because we're spending so much money on companies like Zillow and Realtor.com and Facebook ads and park benches and signs and those little things in the grocery carts. And the truth is that 99% of that doesn't work. And if you do that kind of stuff and you do get leads, the conversion rate is ridiculously low. This is a people business, which means you have to get in front of people. Get up, get out of your bed, get off the computer, get off your phone, get face to face with people, and you will do more business than you ever want. Most of you have family and friends that you haven't even contacted. Don't even know you sell real estate. Have any of you ever sent out a mailer and you got the mail back and they found out they bought a house through somebody else? You're like, oh. So if you're not using your database, I encourage you to get your database in place. It's the most valuable thing you own, is your database. Harvey Mackey said it best. Your Rolodex is the most valuable thing you own. For any of you that don't know what a Rolodex is, ask your mom. So utilize your database. Reach out to people. This applies not only in real estate, but here's one little tip. It's my favorite tip called Take Your Realtor to Lunch Day. Call clients in your database. Find somebody who works in an office area or an office environment. Say, hey, guess what? I would love to take you and a few of your coworkers to lunch. It'll cost you maybe $100. And what will they do when you walk into the lunch? They'll introduce you as, this is Marguerite, my real estate agent. And what do you think? Oh, they shut me off.
Something I haven't been able to do in 32 years.
Hello. Anybody have a spare bed he can sleep in tonight? See, I think I just need to wrap up there. There you guys go. Anyway, take your realtor to lunch day. You'll get clients out of it every time. Encourage your people in your group to get out there and get face-to-face. You do more face-to-faces, you'll get more business than you ever want. Thank you guys very much.
Wait, one more thing. It's hard to shut me up too. As Marguerite said, I've been doing stand-up comedy now for the last 3 years, and I write some parody songs. And I wrote a song about EXP. I'm not actually going to sing it because I don't know where my karaoke DJ is right now. So I'm going to do the first verse just as a poem, basically. And it goes, selling in the real estate world can get a little crazy. But if you have your systems in place, it can be amazing. You don't have to be a brand. People buy from you. Or then again, EXP is the future of what we do. There's 3 more verses. Come to my show and listen to them.